WeWorks, a company that started right before pandemic. 5 years on, $50 billion in valuation, has now filed for bankruptcy. What went wrong?
Okay, so Shweta, WeWork actually was started by Adam Newman in 2010, and he had this bull run and this irrational exuberance that we talk about largely in the context of markets, but in this case there was access to easy money, access to easy capital, and the 2010s were actually that entire decade saw startups flourish like never before, not just in the US but across the world, India included. So we really saw this spate of funding primarily by SoftBank and many other investors, including Alibaba, Jack Ma, etc., who had invested a lot of money in WeWork. About 50 billion, I read somewhere, maybe 47 billion or something
49.
was the valuation. But
yes.
valuations, as we know, are always, I mean, the valuation bubble is at the end of the day more often than not a bubble. But anyway, to cut a very, very long story extremely short, what really happened was that in 2019, that is when WeWork globally went on an overdrive to expand across 700 cities in the world and really opened up shops across multiple cities in the US, in other developed
India.
economies, in India. In India, the matter is a little different because in India, it's a minority shareholder. WeWork Global owns just about 27% or so of the holding structure of WeWork India. The rest of it is owned by the Embassy Group. And Karan Vanwani is the CEO, who's also the son of the founder of Embassy Group. So overall, India is protected. In fact, that was a statement that came from WeWork India yesterday, that operations in India will continue unabated.
I want to come to that.
There.
Interesting.
Yeah, we'll come to that. But what happened globally was that up until 2019, deals after deals were signed with realty houses, with the realty players, to take these long-term leases. And that is when the property rates in the US were high. We were yet to see COVID. We were yet to see, the proposed or the expected economic slowdown across the world. So in 2019, there were deals, long-term deals, mortgage deals signed with a lot of developers across the world. And what was the business model? The business model was that, we are going to charge you higher rent for a shorter duration. So anybody who wants to work at WeWork or wants to take lease of a particular working desk or a little room at a WeWork station would eventually take it maybe for just about a month, 2 months, 3 months. And it offered flexibility to companies. So the idea was long-term deals at a small yield, lower yield, as opposed to renting it out at a higher rate for a shorter duration. So the opposite, literally. Now, what really happened then was 2020, work from home, lockdown. But by then, there was enough money infused already into the company. So it did not fold operations immediately because it was cash rich. It also burned a lot of money, no doubt, private jets and tequila shot parties and all of that in office. But it had enough financial runway to see the company through for the next 3 years. Now, what happened was, as the company started losing money quarter on quarter, month on month, year on year, it realized that what is really holding it back right now and why it cannot get out of the mess that it pretty much created for itself was these long-term deals that were signed with the realty players across the world. And those contracts were watertight. Now, what the assessment or the analysis of the Wall Street Journal is, and I tend to agree with that, is that if a company files for bankruptcy in the US courts, then those contracts can actually be cut short.
Okay.
So it seems that this
is
again
more of a strategy?
It's a strategy. You file for bankruptcy. Once you are admitted into insolvency, then your long-term standing contracts can be terminated. So it does seem to be a case where WeWork globally, the brand is going to stay alive, the company is going to stay alive, the concept is going to stay alive, but it will be able to exit some of the very high yield sort of real estate contracts that it has made, and should then be able to maybe use that money a little more prudently.
Okay, but what's happening in India? Because
In
India
India,
business remains profitable.
India business remains profitable. India business remains safe. In fact, it reported a profit of about 140 crores or something, if I remember the number correctly, for last year. So India operations are safe. Again, the understanding is that because Embassy Group owns about 66% of WeWork India, and Embassy Group largely being a real estate player, it would not be charging market rent for the properties it leases to WeWork. And it would definitely be a subsidized, no profit sort of an arrangement. Hypothesis here, we don't know. But it seems that what it has leased to WeWork would be at better than market prices, and hence WeWork is able to continue its operations in India and also show profit. So I think the India story definitely seems good. It was intelligent on the part of WeWork to actually sign a deal with a real estate player and allow that real estate player to hold part of the India entity. And that seems to be holding WeWork in India steady.
So it's not like people are going for co-working spaces in India, not going for co-working spaces abroad. It's more to do with markets dynamics.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think what really did not work for WeWork Global was the high rentals and the long-term contracts, which it could not dissolve. And as a result of that, and there was the uptake for people to opt for co-working in an era which was marked by lockdowns, did not add any revenues to WeWork Global, and it still had to bear the cost month on month on paying the real estate rentals, which has cost the company now.
And are people going back to co-working spaces? We don't know.
I mean, offices across the world are opening. In India, we've seen IT companies, latest now being Wipro also saying that, come to office at least 3 days a week. Before that, Infosys had said come to office 10 days in a month. TCS had said come to office every single day.
Come to office for all companies.
Absolutely. So I think coming back to office has opened up. There was also this talk in between. There were theories regarding co-working spaces during the pandemic across the world, and WeWork in particular, that companies may want to actually exit their large offices and opt for smaller co-working spaces.
Has that happened?
That did not happen. Okay. So that was another bet that WeWork had placed, that co-working is really going to shoot because companies want to exit larger real estate sort of footprint and keep smaller offices where a fewer number of employees can be called in as required, and hence let go of your large working spaces, opt for a small room or a couple of desks in a WeWork center, and let people come as and when they like. But even that gamut did not really play out well.
All right. So come to office. I think that's the diktat. We are here in office as media people, but WeWork's there. Interesting story unfolding on a global level as well as on India level.